Chapter 1. The Ghost Protocol. Cha Hyun-soo didn't believe in love. He believed in likelihood. Love, in his view, was a chaotic, inefficient, and often disastrous biological algorithm. His job as lead developer and designer of Elysian Match was not to deliver love, but to create the cleanest, most elegant container for it, the ultimate user interface for the messy human heart. He didn't need to feel romance, he just needed to predict its pathways. His sleek, minimalist apartment reflected this. No photos, no sentimental clutter, just the hum of efficient machinery and a panoramic view of Seoul's digital skyline. He was at the top of his game, and he was failing. "It's not the algorithm, Hyun-soo." Mr. Park, the CEO, swiveled his monitor. It displayed the latest dashboard for Elysian Match. User growth? Green. Engagement time, green. Premium subscriptions, green. A cascade of healthy metrics. Then one line, a jagged, angry red cliff, post-first meet retention, and a new festering metric, reported mismatch incidents. "Look at these reviews," Mr. Park sighed, scrolling through a horror show of one-star fury. "Matched with a 99% soulmate who spent the whole date mansplaining cryptocurrency. My perfect match tried to sell me a fake Rolex. We had everything in common and all we did was argue about a female celebrity. This app is full of jerks, fake profile, no match." He pinched the bridge of his nose. "The board is calling it Ghost Protocol. People meet and then poof, or worse, they meet and wish they hadn't." "The algorithm functions perfectly," Hyun-soo stated, his voice even. "It cross-references 2,000 data points, interests, communication style, values, lifestyle. A 99% score is statistically sound. We can't control if a user decides to be a jerk, a scammer, or a catfish in person." "We can try," said Mr. Park, his patience thinning. "I know it's a dating app, not a theoretical physics simulator, but the user doesn't care about our perfect dataset if their date gives them the ick over appetizers. Fix it. Add a feature, a post-date feedback loop, a live vibe check, something. The Valentine's Day push is in 2 weeks. I need you to deliver a solution, not an excuse." Back to his apartment's sterile silence, the word vibe check echoed like an insult. Hyun-soo poured a glass of cold brewed coffee and walked to his main workstation. On a secondary screen, a prototype glowed, his secret project, Project Empath. It was a wearable concept, a sleek, minimalist band that paired with the app. Its premise was simple, revolutionary, to quantify the unquantifiable. Using subtle galvanic skin response and heartbeat synchronicity sensors, it would attempt to measure mutual spark or connection in real time during a date. If both users experienced elevated, synchronized biometrics, a soft, glowing pulse would light up the band, a mutual biological like. But it was stalled, stuck in the lab. The hardware could measure arousal, stress, excitement, but it couldn't tell the difference between romantic spark and indigestion. It couldn't measure the warmth of a shared joke, the safety of a listening silence, the quiet recognition of being seen. The data was noisy, the signal elusive. "What is the missing variable?" he thought, staring at the prototype's cool, dead light. "What transforms a good statistical match into a good feeling?" His phone buzzed. It was Min-sok, his only friend since childhood. "Hey, robot, heard you got called to the principal's office," Min-sok chirped. "Not really. The data is being misinterpreted," Hyun-soo grumbled, slumping into his chair. "Or maybe your data misses the point. I have told you before, love isn't a spreadsheet, man. It's a vibe, a feeling." A vibe is a pattern of neurochemical reactions and social cues we haven't fully mapped yet. It's still data. There's no connection between being in love and developing a dating app. Min-sok laughed. "Okay, Professor Data, then don't you need to study a different source code? Check this out, my sister's obsessed." A link appeared on Hyun-soo's screen. Sighing, he clicked it. A video player opened. It was a professionally shot reel, all golden hour filters and acoustic guitar, the analog heart, find the connection before the connection. It showed smiling people doing seemingly ridiculous things, sitting silently, looking into each other, going on a hike, cooking a meal side by side. The host, a woman named Kim Soo-an, appeared. She was younger than he expected, with a calm, intelligent face and eyes that seemed to look directly at the viewer. "We don't match profiles," she said, her voice clear and warm. "We match presence. We believe the old spark isn't something you find in a bio, it's something you build face to face when there's nothing else to look at." Hyun-soo's designer brain immediately deconstructed it. Forced proximity, shared vulnerability tasks, removal of digital mediation. It's a controlled social experiment. But another part of him, a part he usually kept in administrative privileges, simply watched her. He watched the way she guided a nervous couple with a touch, the knowing smile she gave when they finally laughed together. There was an authenticity to her that was unlike the polished influencers who promoted his app. For a brief, unguarded second, he was captivated, not by the philosophy, but by the practitioner. She seemed to possess something. He shook his head, physically dismissing the thought. Sentiment is a glitch, attraction is a biometric anomaly. "See?" Min-sok's voice crackled through the speaker. "Maybe you need to go offline to fix your robot mind and online problem. Live, you can find the problem by talking to people." "It's a retreat for lonely people who can't use apps properly," Hyun-soo said, his voice returning to his usual flat cadence. "Exactly, your target demographic. Go undercover, do some user research, see what this presence thing is all about, steal some secrets or anything." Hyun-soo stared at the frozen frame on his monitor. Kim Soo-on's face was paused in a gentle smile. Steal secrets. It wasn't a romantic notion, it was a strategic one. She had built a system that worked where his faltered. She was solving for X, for the ghost variable. Her retreat wasn't a sanctuary, it was a laboratory, and he needed her findings. "Min-sok," Hyun-soo said, a new, cold purpose settling over him. "That's actually not a terrible idea." He ended the call and immediately navigated to the Analog Hearts website. He clicked Book Now for the 5-day intensive. As he entered his details, he crafted his cover story, a burnt-out UI designer named Min-jun, seeking to disconnect. He wasn't going to find love, he was going on a data heist. The most valuable code he'd ever steal wouldn't be written in Python, but in the language of lingering glances and shared silence. And he would crack it. Chapter 2. Presence Required. Hyun-soo constructed his cover identity with the precision of a coder debugging a stubborn line of logic. Min-jun was a freelance UI designer. His backstory? He'd lost a serious relationship because he couldn't look up from his screens. His ex had left him for a man who, presumably, knew how to maintain eye contact. It was a plausible, modern tragedy designed to grant him the perfect camouflage, a wounded, slightly pathetic tech guy seeking salvation. He arrived at the Analog Heart expecting a tech-hating monastery. He pictured a stern ascetic in hemp, preaching the gospel of disconnection. The first surprise was the retreat itself, a stunning fusion of cabin and wood design with sleek, modern architecture. It spoke not of rejection, but of intentional curation. The second surprise was the tech. A staff member checked him in on a slim tablet, her fingers a blur. There weren't just people who don't know how to use devices, they were professionals using technology as a precise, invisible tool to facilitate an analog experience. The hypocrisy, he noted, was fascinating. His room was a lesson in sensory deprivation in the best way. Wood, linen, no TV, no glaring lights. A single, beautiful notebook and a pen lay on the desk. He dropped his bag, his mind already analyzing. Environment engineered for low cognitive load. Materials promote tactile engagement. Absence of digital interfaces forces attention inward. From his jacket, he withdrew what looked like a high-end stylus. A button click deployed its true function, a multi-spectrum scanner. He conducted a slow, methodical sweep, mapping the room's dimensions, material density, and scanning for any hidden camera. He found nothing but clean, quiet space. The container is secure, he thought. Now for the experiment. Leaving his room, he was preoccupied, analyzing the environment. He turned a corner and walked directly into a soft, solid form. Oh! He looked up and his internal processors stuttered. It was her, Kim Soo-an. In person, she was both exactly like the video and completely different. The warmth was there, but so was a sharp, perceptive intelligence in her eyes that the camera had only hinted at. She wore simple, elegant clothes that spoke of ease and movement. A faint, clean scent of cedar and green tea hung in the air between them. "Oh my," she said. "I'm so sorry," he blurted out hastily. His heart was doing an illogical, high-speed calculation in his chest. "No harm done," she said, her smile erasing any potential awkwardness. "You must be a new arrival. I'm Kim Soo-an." "Minjun," he said, the alias feeling flimsy on his tongue. He gave a stiff bow. "Welcome, Minjun." Her gaze was appraising, not judging. It felt like she was reading his metadata. "You're heading the wrong way for the orientation. The main hall is this way." She gestured back the way she'd come. "May I?" He nodded, falling into step beside her. As they navigated a narrow part of the walkway, she gently touched his elbow to guide him ahead, just through those doors. In the confined space, the back of his hand brushed against hers. It was nothing, a millisecond of accidental contact, but it ignited a chain reaction. First, a physical jolt, a clean, sharp spark of awareness that traveled up his arm. It was data, but of a kind his body had never reported before. Simultaneously, on his wrist, concealed under his sleeve, the prototype band of Project Empath, set to passive monitoring mode, emitted a single, warm, pulsed glow against his skin, a biometric confirmation of something. His brain, the ultimate processor, tried to reconcile the inputs: tactile stimulus, galvanic skin response spike, heart rate acceleration. Ambiguous signal. Could be stress, could be surprise. But it wasn't. It was a spark, a real, undeniable, and terrifyingly analog spark. The very phantom variable he was here to capture had just manifested, and its source was the subject of his espionage. He pulled his hand away as if burned, his eyes wide. Did she feel it? Her expression was unreadable, a calm pool, but her eyes held his for a beat too long. "The hall is right there," she repeated, her voice soft, nodding ahead. He mumbled thanks and practically fled into the spacious, sunlit room, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. The hall was filled with a quiet buzz of anxiety. He took a seat at the back, his mind reeling. Dangerous. This is a confounding variable. Personal, sensory interference. Must isolate and disregard. Soo-an stepped onto the low platform at the front, and the room hushed. "Welcome, everyone, to the Analog Heart," began Soo-an, her voice calm and clear, effortlessly filling the space. "Many of you are here because something that was once easy has become impossibly hard. Looking at the person across from you at the dinner table, having a conversation without a phone in your hand, feeling connected." Hyun-soo forced himself into observation mode. He noted the demographics, mostly couples, their body language speaking of chasms, one leaning in, one away. Many singles looking lost or defensive. "This is not a tech-free zone," she said, to his surprise. "We love tech. I have more gadgets than most." A warm, genuine laugh rippled through the crowd. "This is a relationship repair zone. Think of it as a rehab for your attention. Your phone isn't the villain. Your addiction to it is. It has become the third wheel in your marriage and relationship, the wall between you and a potential partner, the thing you reach for when you're bored, lonely, or afraid of the quiet with someone you love." She walked slowly along the edge of the platform, making eye contact with different guests. "We will work on replacing screen time with seeing time," she continued. "For the couples, for the singles, we will practice connecting with another human being without the filter of a profile. We will use exercises, shared challenges, and a lot of intentional silence to remember what it feels like to be seen and to see." As she outlined the structure of the days ahead, silent walks, communication exercises, collaborative tasks, Hyun-Soo's hand moved to the notebook in his pocket, not the stylus, the simple analog notebook. He began to write, his handwriting quick and sharp. Observation. Host, Suan, is primary facilitator, keystone. Environment is controlled, container. Thesis. Treats phubbing, phone snubbing, as relational pathogen. Method. Forced digital detox plus structured vulnerability plus non-verbal resynchronization. Goal. Rebuild attentional reciprocity. Personal note. Facilitator is key variable. Charismatic, perceptive, creates container of safety. How to replicate digitally. He looked up from his notes. Suan was taking a question from a guest, her head tilted in total focus. The sun from a high window caught the edge of her profile. The band on his wrist remained dark and silent, but the memory of its pulse and the spark that had triggered it glowed in his mind like an unsolvable error code. The research was underway, and it was already infinitely more complex and perilous than he had ever imagined. Chapter 3. The Moss and the Machine. Morning arrived not with alarms, but with the resonant hum of a singing bowl. Outside, Sue-Ann stood before the assembled guests, her energy focused and bright. Today's first exercise is the Navigation Challenge, she announced, holding up a simple, hand-drawn map. Couples, you are a team. Singles, you'll be paired. Your goal is to find the Heartstone Vista, a rock outcrop marked on your map. The first team to bring back the flag planted there wins, she smiled, the ultimate prize, bragging rights, and first choice of dessert tonight. A soft chuckle moved through the crowd. Hyun-Soo observed the reactions. The couples looked determined, the singles anxious. He viewed it clinically, a forced cooperation task designed to induce low-stakes stress and require communication. Basic team building, he thought with an internal groan, a corporate retreat for the heartbroken. Pairs were called. As the last single guest was matched, Sue-Ann looked at her clipboard, then at Hyun-Soo, who stood alone. It seems we have an odd number, Min-Jun. That means you're with me. Her tone was cheerful, but it felt like a verdict. With you? He echoed, his cover of shyness almost cracking with genuine surprise. Unless you'd prefer to sit out and observe, she asked, a knowing glint in her eye that suggested she'd already noticed his observer's tendency. No, I'm in. Direct access to the primary facilitator, he rationalized, optimal for data collection. They set off from the lodge with their map and a single compass. For the first 20 minutes, Hyun-Soo led. He applied pure logic, matching the drawn trail bends to forks in the path, counting his paces, maintaining a strict eastern bearing with the compass. You're very systematic, Sue-Ann observed, walking easily beside him through the silent, pine-scented woods. It's just applied data, he said, eyes on the map. The map is an interface. The trail is the user path. We find the points of alignment. And when the interface is flawed, she asked, her voice light. Then the user experience fails, he stated. She hummed, a non-committal sound. After a stretch of quiet, broken only by the crunch of their boots, she spoke again, her tone softer, more personal. Can I ask, what made you take this step? Coming here alone is brave. The scripted lie came automatically, but it felt heavier here in the quiet woods. My last relationship. She said she felt like she was in competition with my notifications, that I'd rather solve problems on a screen than be present with ours. He infused his voice with a rehearsed weariness. I didn't know how to stop, so I'm here, to learn how to be here. He chanced a glance at her. Her expression had softened into one of deep, genuine empathy. It was far more unnerving than suspicion. Oh, she said, and she meant it. Her pity was a tangible, warm thing that settled on him like a weight. Oh, that feeling of being phubbed by the person you want most. It's a profound loneliness. Thank you for trusting us with that. Her compassion was a sucker punch to his conscience. He believed the fiction completely. He looked away, suddenly unable to bear it. "I just don't want to be that person anymore," he mumbled, the truth of the statement, just not in the way she heard it, stinging his throat. Before she could respond, or before he could foolishly ask her anything in return, the weather shifted. A few fat, wet snowflakes drifted down, landing on the map with soft, blurring splats. Within minutes, the world dissolved into a swirling, silent squall. The trees became gray ghosts in the haze. "This wasn't forecast," Hyun-soo muttered, genuine alarm cutting through his analysis. His instinct was immediate, physical. His hand went to his wrist, his thumb moved to activate his watch, to ping its hidden GPS, to solve the problem. "Stop." Her voice was calm but firm. She placed a hand over his wrist, not on the watch, but on his pulse point. Her skin was cool. "Breathe. The tool you're reaching for won't help you see." "We're lost," he argued, frustration rising. "This is a safety issue. This is where technology matters." "Is it?" she asked, turning from him. She approached the trunk of a large pine, brushing away the accumulating snow. She leaned close, studying the bark. "The moss," she murmured. "It grows thicker on the north side." She moved to another tree, then another, tracing an invisible line. "The wind is driving the snow from the west. See how it's piling against the rocks on that side?" She was reading the environment itself, parsing data from the ancient analog network of the forest. It was illogical, it was inefficient, it was, she realized with a shock, working. "This way," she said with a quiet certainty, "and step where I step." The journey back was slow, tense, and utterly silent except for their breathing and the crunch of snow. Hyun-soo's mind was a storm of conflict, panic, admiration, irritation, and a cold, drenching reality that no line of code could control the weather. As they broke through the tree line and saw the lodge, a wave of relief was quickly replaced with concern. A small crowd had gathered on the deck, faces etched with worry. Soo-an instantly shifted from navigator to commander, her own fear for others overriding any personal relief. "Is everyone back? Were any other pairs on the western ridge?" Her voice was sharp with urgency. Hyun-soo, shivering, saw her genuine distress. Without thinking, he moved to help, using his memory of the pairings to quickly check off names with returning guests, his systematic mind suddenly useful in the crisis. When all were confirmed safe, the tension broke. Soo-an turned to him, the professional mask slipping to reveal exhausted gratitude. "Thank you," she said, her voice low, "for helping." An odd, nervous energy, the aftermath of shared adrenaline, bubbled up in him. He reached into his coat pocket, which had remained surprisingly dry. He pulled out a small, damp red flag. I grabbed this on our way when we were at the outcrop." He held it up. They had technically reached the goal. They had won. A beat of silence hung in the cold air. Then a startled, genuine laugh burst from Soo-an. It was a warm, unfiltered sound that seemed to melt the last of the icy fear. "Oh my gosh!" It surprised him so completely that a short, rough laugh escaped him in response. For a second, they just stood there in the falling snow, holding a soggy flag and laughing at the absurdity of it all. "I guess the prize is ours," he said, the ghost of a real smile on his face. "Though since I'm not technically your partner, you'll have to name the dessert demand later." She nodded, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "Yeah, anytime. Thank you, Min-jun, really, for today." She gave his arm a brief, grateful squeeze, then turned to address the gathered, worried guests, her host's demeanor seamlessly reassembling. Hyun-soo stood rooted to the spot, watching her go. The ghost of her laugh echoed. The pressure of her hand on his arm lingered. Inside his chest, something glitched. A sharp, strange pang, a feeling with no logical source code, no associated data point. It wasn't relief, it wasn't triumph. It was a warmth that defied the cold, a pull that contradicted his mission parameters. He looked down at the red flag in his hand, a cheap piece of fabric. It felt like the most significant data he'd ever collected, and it was utterly meaningless to his algorithm. A critical, undocumented bug had been found in the emotional code of Cha Hyun-soo. For the first time, he had no idea how to begin patching it. Chapter 4. Transaction versus Transmission. The dining hall at breakfast was a sanctuary of soft light and the gentle clatter of ceramic. It was shattered by the sound of a chair scraping violently back. "You what?" The voice belonged to Leah, one half of a glamorous influencer couple at Wander With Us, who had 800,000 followers tracking their perfect love story. Her face was pale. Her partner, Kai, held up his phone like a shield. It was a vulnerable moment. It's what our audience craves, the real us. "I was crying, Kai." Leah's voice trembled, cutting through the hushed room. "I was telling you I was scared, that this constant performance was exhausting me, and I look over and you're adjusting the lighting and asking me to repeat that last part for the audio?" Hyun-soo watched from his corner, a clinical observer. Data point: digital curation directly cannibalizes intimate communication. The shared experience becomes content, creating relational debt. Kai spluttered. "It's our brand. That moment was pure gold." "I was not content," Leah shouted, a raw, broken sound. Before the fracture could widen further, Soo-an was there. She didn't step between them, she placed herself beside them, a calm, solid presence in the storm. "Please calm down," she said, her voice so quiet everyone had to strain to hear. She took the phone from Kai's stunned hand and placed it on the down
table
between
asterisk.
them. "This," she said, pointing at the device, "is how far apart you were when Leah was speaking from her heart." The space was a chasm. Then she guided them through what she called the mirroring exercise. "Leah, give Kai one sentence, just one, of what you needed him to hear." Kai will not reply. He only repeat her words back to her exactly until she feels heard. It was brutally simple. Leah, tears streaming, whispered, "I needed you to see me, not our audience." Kai, defensive and robotic, parroted, "I needed you to see me, not our audience." "Again," Soo-an said, her voice a gentle command. He repeated it. On the third repetition, the performative edge left his voice. On the fifth, his own shoulders slumped. The reality of her words, her fear, not their brand's narrative, finally reaching him. "I needed you to see me," he said, and this time he was looking at her, not his internal metrics dashboard. Hyun-soo froze. A silent siren blared in his mind. Eureka! His app, Elysian Match, was a masterpiece of transaction. It facilitated an exchange, message, response, like, rematch, profile view, profile view. It was a marketplace of attention. Soo-an's method enforced attentional reciprocity. It wasn't about exchange, it was about absorption. It created a closed loop where one person had to fully receive before any response was possible. It mandated presence. This was the anti-ghosting protocol. This was how you prevented someone from feeling like they were talking to a brick wall disguised as a 99% match. He began analyzing furiously. New feature, Analog Compatibility Engine, AC, Core Protocol Number 2, Mirroring, a feature that forces user A to accurately receive data from user B before formulating response, eliminates transactional echo chamber, creates foundational layer of feeling heard. The rest of the day was a masterclass in the architecture of repair. Soo-an led a session not on pairing, but on individual recalibration. She called it clearing your own signal. You cannot connect a clean device to a noisy one and expect a clear transmission, she explained. Guests were guided through identifying their own relational static, the insecurities, the past hurts, the automatic defensive reactions they brought to every interaction, digital or analog. Hyun-soo, participating with clinical detachment at first, found himself reluctantly inventorying his own static. Static number 1, belief that all human interaction is reducible to data. Static number 2, dismissal of unquantifiable variables as noise. Static number 3, a mission that requires deception.
He didn't share, but the act of private identification was surprisingly clarifying. He watched couples and singles alike lean into the work, not as a date, but as necessary maintenance. The willingness in the room was palpable. They weren't just looking for a partner, they were preparing to be a better one. That night, back in the silent privacy of his room, the triumph of the ACE concept warred with a persistent, nagging error. He sat on his bed, the prototype band from Project Empath on the desk beside him. It had glown again today. Not during the influencer fight or the mirroring exercise. It had pulsed softly, stubbornly again when Sue-Ann had laughed during a light moment in the afternoon session, her eyes finding his in the crowd. The band was supposed to measure mutual spark, a connection between two people. It was lighting up for his unilateral, unquantifiable, what? Fascination? Attraction? Malfunction, he muttered to the empty room. He picked up the band, connecting it to a tiny diagnostic pad from his bag. He ran a hardware check. All systems optimal. He recalibrated the baseline biometrics. The glitch persisted in the logs. Elevated GSR and heart rate sync pattern. Source ambiguity. Signal strength high. His phone buzzed. It was Min Suk. Hey, secret agent, how's the digital detox? Found the meaning of life yet? Hyun-soo slumped back. I found a critical flaw in my core premise and in my equipment. Uh-oh, did your fancy watch break? In a manner of speaking, it's registering false positives. It's detecting a connection where there is only observational data collection. The lie was automatic, thin. Min Suk chuckled. Or maybe your little machine is working better than you are, and you're seeing a connection you don't want to admit is there. Who's the false positive, Mr. Data? Hyun-soo's jaw tightened. The environment is professionally designed to simulate authentic connection. It's contaminating the dataset. My device is being tricked by the ambiance. The ambiance? Min Suk repeated, dripping with sarcasm. Right, so is the retreat host a wrinkled old sage like you thought? An image of Sue-Ann brushing her hair and laughing flashed in Hyun-soo's mind. No, she's highly competent. Her methodology is sound. It's replicable. He changed the subject. I'm drafting a new framework. I'm learning a lot. That's my robot, always working, even when you're not supposed to be. Min Suk's tone softened. Just don't forget to be a human subject in your own experiment once in a while, okay? For the control group. After the call, Hyun-soo stared at the band. The diagnostic pad declared it fully functional. The problem wasn't in the code or the circuitry. The problem was in the primary sensor. Him. He was the glitch. And for the first time, the thought of fixing it, of recalibrating himself to ignore the specific, potent signal of Kim Sue-Ann, felt less like a solution and more like a catastrophic loss of data.
Chapter 5. The Facilitator's Static. Kim Sue-Ann was the calm at the center of the storm. To her guests, she was the steady hand, the empathetic ear, the architect of reconnection. In the quiet of her private quarters after the day's emotional torrent, she was just a woman folding laundry, seeking order in soft, worn cotton. The chime of a video call sliced through the silence. A smile touched her lips before she even looked. It was her younger sister, Kim Ji-min, but known as Sarah, her face glowing with pixelated joy against the backdrop of a sleek, minimalist office. Sue-Ann, you will not believe it. Sarah's words tumbled out in a breathless rush. I'm going to Paris. Paris for a full week to plan a wedding with my boss. I can't wait. Sue-Ann matched her sister's grin, carefully smoothing the sleeve of a linen shirt. Really? That's awesome, Sarah. A well-deserved adventure. Right? Maybe I'll find my own doomed romance in a patisserie. Sarah sighed dramatically, a familiar twinkle in her eye. Sue-Ann gave her a knowing look, pausing her folding. What about Mr. Park, the graphic novelist with the critically acclaimed tragic backstory? Sarah rolled her eyes with practiced flair.
Please, he's not even ready to label this a situationship, let alone plan a trip to the corner store. He's still writing his own third-act twist. Suan laughed, the sound warm and easy in her quiet room. Oh, please, don't rush him. Some stories need time to find their genre. Sarah's smile softened, then turned inquisitive, her head tilting. So, what about you? Anyone new on your radar? The question was casual, a standard sibling volley, but Suan's hands stilled. An unbidden image flashed in her mind. Minjun. Not as he was in the group, guarded, analytical, but as he'd been in the snow, holding up that sodden flag with a look of dazed, triumphant confusion, that rare, unguarded smile that didn't seem to know it was on his face. Her heart did a stupid, tiny skip. A flush of warmth crept up her neck. "No," she said, her voice a beat too light. She resumed folding with exaggerated focus. Just the usual retreat chaos. "Really?" Sarah leaned closer to the camera, her expression shifting from teasing to gentle concern. "Suan, it's been, 4 years since Jae-wook? I think you're taking this facilitator thing a little too literally. You guide people back to love all day long. You've got to put yourself out there too. It's Valentine's Day in like 6 days. Single again? Okay, when was your last real date?" she asked, her tone softening. A familiar defensive shield clicked into place. Jae-wook's name was a dull echo. His departure, choosing a job in Singapore over their life in Seoul, hadn't broken her. It had convinced her that real connection required a foundation most people weren't willing to build. It had led her here, to building that foundation for others. "Oh, please don't start now," Suan said, rolling her eyes to mask the flutter in her chest. "Goodbye. Go, now. You have to prepare for work, before you get fired and your planning of French escapade fail." "She can't fire me. Miss Hannah is so nice. I think she loves me." Suan rolled her eyes. Sarah's eyes remained soft. "Just think about it, okay? You can't live in a monastery of other people's feelings forever." "It's not a monastery, it's a retreat, and I'm not living in anything. I'm working. Bye." Suan deflected. Yeah, avoiding the topic. I see you. Okay, fine. Good night, hermit. Good night, jet setter. Love you. Love you. The screen went dark, plunging the room back into a silence that now felt charged. The playful interrogation was over, but the questions lingered, buzzing softly like static. With a sigh, she walked to the large window that overlooked the moonlit central courtyard, intending to close the wooden shutters against the night chill. Her breath caught. There he was, Minjun. He was outside, on the gravel path that ringed the garden. He was alone, as always, his head tilted. He was saying something. He looked closer, and then he smiled. Not the polite, closed-lipped smile he used as a shield, but a real one. It transformed his entire face. She watched, unseen, and memory overtook her. The first day she saw him, he was walking into the courtyard, a solitary figure with a duffel bag and an aura of intense, contained purpose that vibrated at a different frequency from the anxious or hopeful guests. She'd felt it then, a faint, inexplicable pull, a hitch in her own usually steady rhythm. Attractive was too simple a word. He was a complex, unsolved equation in a room full of heartfelt poetry. Then the hallway, the accidental brush of hands. It hadn't just been a touch, it had been a transfer of energy, a silent, static shock of pure presence that had short-circuited her professional detachment for a dizzying second. And the mountain, his frustrated logic giving way to grudging respect in the whiteout, their shared, desperate focus to get everyone home safe, and then that surprising, tawing laugh by the lodge lights. A warmth spread from her chest to her cheeks. She actually blushed, standing alone in the dark. As if sensing the weight of her gaze, he chose that moment to look up. Suan jerked back from the window as if scalded, her heart hammering a frantic beat against her ribs. She fumbled for the cord and yanked the shutters closed with a soft thud, plunging the room into deeper shadow. She stood in the middle of the room, hand pressed to her chest. "What is wrong with me?" she whispered to the empty air. He was a guest, a wounded, disconnected guest, according to his story. Her job was to guide him, to facilitate his breakthrough, not to observe him this way, not to catalog the way his real smile made something in her chest tighten, or to feel a proprietary thrill that she had been the one to coax it out. Stubbornly, she marched to her bed, shaking her head as if to physically dislodge the thoughts. She was Kim Suan. She built sanctuaries for connection. She did not get lost in them herself. She grabbed her tablet, pulling up the schedule for tomorrow. Day 2, the oxytocin loop, eye contact and vulnerable sharing. She reviewed the pairings, the timing, the contingency plans. This was her code. This was her world. Ordered, intentional, safe. She placed the tablet aside, turned off the light, and slid under the covers. But in the darkness, before sleep claimed her, the last thing she saw against her eyelids was not the schedule. It was the moonlit glimpse of a man in the courtyard and the unsettling, thrilling realization that for the first time in a long time, her own heart felt like uncharted territory.
Chapter 6. Loop.
The morning sun streamed into the great hall, painting golden rectangles on the polished wood floor. The air hummed with a different energy today, a mix of apprehension and quiet resolve. Suan stood at the front, her presence both calming and authoritative. "Today's session," she began, her voice clear, "is often the most challenging and the most transformative. We focus on the foundation of all human connection, the ability to be truly seen and to truly see." She explained the science simply, without jargon. Prolonged, gentle eye contact triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It lowers stress, builds trust, and fosters empathy. In a world of glancing notifications, we have forgotten how to hold a gaze. This exercise is about rebuilding that muscle. For couples, it's about rediscovering the person behind the roles and routines. For singles, she said, her eyes sweeping the room, it's about practicing presence with another human being without agenda. She made it clear the exercise was optional, especially for singles. Hyun-Soo's mind, ever calculating, saw it as the final, crucial data set for the ACE, the Biological Verification Protocol, he noted. He raised his hand slightly, indicating he would participate. He needed to experience the raw data stream. Suan nodded, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. She began pairing people, guiding them to sit facing their partners, knees almost touching. As she moved through the room, she realized she had an odd number again. She stopped before Hyun-Soo. A small, wry smile touched her lips. "For the purpose of the demonstration, would you mind? It's helpful for others to see the form." Every logical circuit in his brain fired warning signals. Bad data, contaminated sample. The facilitator is a confounding variable. But to refuse would be to break his cover, to seem more suspicious. He gave a stiff nod. They sat facing each other on the cushions, closer than they'd been since the snowy trail. The room faded into a peripheral blur. Suan's instructions floated to them. Soft gaze, don't stare, just let your eyes rest. Breathe, notice without judgment. And then they looked. For the first 10 seconds, Hyun-Soo analyzed. He noted the exact shade of brown in her irises, the faint, concerned line between her brows that appeared when she was concentrating, the way her lashes cast tiny shadows. At 20 seconds, the analysis began to glitch. He saw the intelligence in her gaze, not as a trait to catalog, but as a palpable force. He saw the warmth, and beneath it, a vulnerability she kept expertly shielded from the group. She wasn't just looking at him, she was receiving him, the same way she'd taught the influencer couple. His own carefully constructed walls felt transparent. For demonstration, he reminded himself. At 30 seconds, a jolt, clean and electric, passed through him. It was the hallway spark, amplified 100-fold. It wasn't in his mind, it was a full-system physiological response. Think of something, codes. In her eyes, he saw a reflection of his own stunned realization. Her pupils were wide. Her breath had softened to match his. For a sliver of a moment, the professional facilitator was gone, and it was just Soo-on, caught in the same inexplicable current. "Okay," she said softly, her voice a little husky, breaking the spell, as she called time for the room. "Gently come back." They pulled apart. Hyun-soo looked away first, his chest tight, the after-image of her gaze burned into his vision. He felt violently seen, in a way that had nothing to do with observation. "It's the exercise," he told himself frantically, reassembling his composure. "It's a biological hack, oxytocin. It's not real. It's just highly effective code." Needing a control for his experiment, he participated in the next round, paired with Soo-ji, the cheerful woman who had shown interest. They went through the same exercise, 30 seconds, a minute. He noted her pleasant features, her kind smile. He felt nothing but a mild, polite awkwardness. His wrist remained dark and silent. "See," he told himself triumphantly and unnerved. The previous data was an outlier, a system error caused by the primary facilitator variable. That evening, a communal fire crackled in the stone pit. The day's intensity had given way to a softer, more reflective mood. Hyun-soo stood slightly apart, drafting the oxytocin loop module for the ACE. Soo-ji approached him, her face glowing in the firelight, blushing from her neck to the tips of her ears. "Min-jun, today was intense, wasn't it?" "It was clinically interesting," he replied, defaulting to his safe, analytical mode. "I was wondering if maybe after the retreat, if you're in Seoul, we could—" "Hot cider?" Soo-on's cheerful voice materialized beside them. She held out 2 steaming mugs, handing one to a flustered Soo-ji and the other to Hyun-soo. Her smile was bright, professional, the perfect host. "Nothing fosters connection like shared warmth. You two have a great time talking." She gave an encouraging nod and melted back into the crowd, seamlessly facilitating a potential connection. Hyun-soo stared after her, the mug hot in his hand. A bolt of pure irrational frustration shot through him. He misunderstood. She saw Soo-ji's interest and, following her own matchmaking code, was nurturing it. She was putting him in the potential pair column. He took a step to follow her, to explain that he wasn't here for that her algorithm was misfiring. He needed her to know the data was wrong. He stopped dead. Why? Why did he need to correct her? Why did the idea of her believing he was interested in Soo-ji feel like a critical error in his file? Why did her professional facilitative smile feel like a personal dismissal? The questions formed a logic loop with no exit. He stood frozen, watching Soo-on laugh with another guest, her earlier vulnerability in the exercise completely hidden behind her host's facade. He turned back to Soo-ji, forcing a polite, closed-lipped smile, and engaged in the most bland, mission-focused small talk he could muster until she excused herself, her own smile dimming. Back in the sterile quiet of his room, the cold clarity of his purpose returned with a vengeance. He wrote on his notebook, the firelight of confusion replaced by the cool glow of his desk lamp. "Module, oxytocin forced connection protocol," he wrote, his pen digging into the paper. "Requires mutual voluntary participation in sustained visual biofeedback. Effectiveness is high, but context-dependent. Cannot be automated. Requires a container of safety, Soo-on, and voluntary buy-in from users." He wrote until his hand cramped, outlining parameters, flowcharts, and fail-safes. He documented the mirroring exercise, the navigation challenge, the vulnerability sessions. But the most critical data point, the 30 seconds that had lit up his band and short-circuited his reasoning, remained uncategorized, a glowing anomaly in the margins of his notes. He could code the conditions, but he could not replicate the cause. The mission was all that mattered. He repeated it like a mantra. But the mantra now had a counter-rhythm, a silent, persistent pulse from a band that only glowed for one specific confounding variable.
Chapter 7. The Beautiful Lie. The hall, usually a place of simple, communal warmth, had been transformed. Candles flickered in glass jars, casting dancing light on white linen. A lone saxophone melody, played from an old record player, wove through the low hum of nervous conversation. This was the first look, Suan's signature event, and the rumors among the single guests were finally clear to Hyun-soo. This wasn't just another exercise. For many, this was the entire point of coming. It was where the retreat's lessons were pressure tested under the guise of romance. Hyun-soo found his place card with a sinking feeling, next to Soo-ji. He offered her a polite smile as she sat, radiant in a simple dress, her eyes bright with hope. The rules were reiterated: presence, not performance, listening, not impressing. Soo-ji was kind, easy to talk to. She spoke of her students, her family in Busan, her love for tending a small rooftop garden. Hyun-soo executed perfectly. He nodded, asked thoughtful questions, mirrored her expressions. It was a masterclass in the attentional reciprocity he was there to test. This date was by every metric he designed a failure. Why don't I feel that spark? He asked himself. His internal sensors were screaming. His focus was a searchlight, perpetually sweeping the room, locking on to one coordinate: Soo-an. She moved through the candlelight in a blue dress that seemed to drink the shadows, her hair a dark cascade against her shoulders. She wasn't just hosting, she was the living, breathing soul of the evening. He watched her calm a nervous couple with a touch on their arm, share a genuine laugh with an older couple. Every glimpse of her sent a jolt through his system, a surge of static that drowned out Soo-ji's pleasant, predictable narrative. Then he saw them, the couple from the first day, the ones who had sat at breakfast with a chasm of silence between them so wide you could feel it. They were on the small makeshift dance floor. They weren't good dancers, they were, in fact, terrible. But his hand was on the small of her back, hers was on his shoulder, and they were swaying. Her head was tilted back, and she was laughing, a real, unburdened sound he hadn't heard from her all week. The man's face was a portrait of wonder, as if he'd just discovered gravity. The sight was a physical blow. It bypassed his analytical mind and struck something deeper. It gave a beautiful, interactive catalog to created this clumsy, sacred, wordless moment of re-finding each other in a room full of strangers. The final notes of the record faded. The spell broke into a murmur of soft conversation and clinking glassware. Soo-ji left. He waited until the hall began to empty, until only the staff remained, quietly clearing the remnants of the beautiful fiction. And there she was, alone by the now silent record player, blowing out the final candles on a table. In the dying light, she looked less like a facilitator and more like a woman at the end of a long, demanding day. He walked over, the click of his shoes on the wood too loud in the quiet. She looked up, surprised. "You look beautiful tonight, my lady," he said. The words left him before he could filter them, raw and uncoded. She stilled, a candle snuffer in her hand. A faint blush rose on her cheeks, visible even in the dim light. Thank you," she replied, her voice softer than her usual professional tone. The air between them crackled, thick with everything unsaid. "So, what do you do, Minjun, out there, when you're not practicing presence?" The alias felt like a cheap costume now, but the full truth, corporate spy, thief of intimacy, was a poison he couldn't spill here. So he split the difference. He gave her the ghost of his original intent, the pure, uncynical dream. "I'm a UI designer," he said. Then, looking directly into her eyes, he added, "I'm trying to build something that helps people connect better, not just match, actually connect." Her gaze held his, searching. Then a smile bloomed on her face, not polite, not professional, but real, warm, deeply approving. "That," she said, her voice full of a conviction that shook him, "is truly a beautiful thing to build." He nodded. They reached the private door to her quarters. He took the key from her and helped her open the door. "Thank you," she said, her eyes lingering on his. "Good night." He nodded. "Good night," unable to speak. With one last small smile, she slipped inside, and the door clicked shut. Hyun-soo stood alone in the dark corridor. Guilt. It didn't arrive, it engulfed. It was a cold, suffocating tide that rose from his stomach to his throat. She had called his lie beautiful. She had seen an ally, a fellow dreamer in the fight against disconnection. He stared at the closed door, his own reflection a pale ghost in its dark wood. What am I doing? The question wasn't about the mission anymore. It was about the man staring back at him in the dark. The man who built beautiful, empty bridges, now standing on the shore, realizing he was terrified to cross the only one that felt real.
Chapter 8. The Ticking Clock. 2 days. The number echoed in Hyun-soo's skull like a countdown timer. The retreat, this suspended reality, was nearing its end. The real world, with its deadlines and deceptions, was rushing back in. That morning, a text from Mr. Park had blinked on his screen, a cold intrusion. "Got your ACE proposal. Brilliant. This analog feature is exactly what we needed. Legal is fast-tracking the patents. Official launch is set for Feb 13th. Be there. This is your victory lap." His brilliant proposal was a meticulously structured theft. His victory lap would be a parade over the grave of Suwon's principles. The guilt from the night before had solidified into a hard, cold knot in his chest. He'd replayed their conversation by her door 100 times. The warmth in her eyes when she'd called his dream beautiful was a branding iron on his conscience. He had to tell her. But tell her what? His real name? That he was like a mission? That every moment of vulnerability she'd shared was fodder for a corporate patent? The thought of her face, the warmth dissolving into betrayal, the trust hardening into disgust, made him feel physically ill. And beneath the guilt, a more terrifying question throbbed. What exactly was this chaotic mix of admiration, attraction, and profound shame he was feeling? His emotional code had no classification for it. That night, needing to escape the 4 walls that seemed to whisper fraud, he walked the now familiar garden path. He saw her then, a silhouette on a secluded bench beneath a pine tree, bathed in the soft light from a distant lantern. She was on a call, a female voice, a cheerful, tinny chatter in the quiet. "No, I don't need a Valentine's date," she said. "I told you before I'm perfectly happy with my quiet, peaceful life." Hyun-soo stopped, transfixed. This wasn't facilitator Suwon. This was just Suwon. Tired, a little exasperated, beautifully real. He watched the way she tucked her hair, the affectionate roll of her eyes, the slight slump of her shoulders. He wasn't observing a subject, he was seeing her. And for a long, unguarded moment, he let himself simply feel the sheer, overwhelming pull of it. She turned, sensing his presence, and gasped softly. "Oh, I didn't see you there." She quickly ended the call. "Minjun." "I'm sorry," he said, stepping closer. "Just taking a walk." She raised an eyebrow, a faint smile returning. "You always are." "It's the best way to clear the system cache," he said, the tech analogy slipping out automatically. To his relief, she laughed, a real bright sound. "Of course it is." "Mind if I—" gestured to the bench. "Of course, no problem at all." She shifted over. They sat in a silence that was surprisingly comfortable. The faint scent of pine and her perfume, something like rain and jasmine, filled the space between them. "So, going on a date?" he asked, nudging his chin towards her now dark phone. She smiled. "Oh, you heard that. Don't worry, it's not a big deal. Just my sister. Valentine's Day puts her in a matchmaking frenzy. Ah, Valentine's Day. And you're refusing to participate? Boycott on principle? Or just don't like fancy date? She laughed again, shaking her head. Oh my God, you're so funny. A genuine smile spread across his face. That's a first. Usually I'm told I have the charisma of a spreadsheet. A very well-formatted spreadsheet, she teased. Then her expression softened. But you know, Valentine's Day is about celebrating love with your partner, right? But that shouldn't make people who aren't in a romance feel like they're failing. It should be about celebrating love with your partner, your family, your friends. The pressure to be coupled up or you must find a date, it's just more noise. He nodded intently. It's a social algorithm with flawed parameters. It prioritizes one data type, romantic pair bonds, and marks all other data information as irrelevant. It's inefficient and causes widespread system errors. I mean, it makes some people feel lonely. She looked at him, her eyes sparkling with amusement in something deeper. You really do see the world in code, don't you? It's the only language I'm fluent in, he admitted. They watched as a couple from the retreat, hand in hand, walked from the main hall towards the cabins, their heads close together. What was yours? He asked, quietly, the question leaving him before he could vet it. Was it a bad heartbreak? She was silent for a moment, then shook her head. No, it was a good love. My parents. She looked out into the dark. My dad was an engineer, my mom a pianist. He was all logic, she was all feeling. They'd have these epic discussions where he'd present his case like a project report and she'd respond with a piece of music that expressed her mood. They were utterly different and they were utterly devoted. Her voice grew softer, wistful. They taught me that connection isn't about finding someone who speaks your language. It's about the patience to build a whole new one together. This place, it's the workshop for that, where people learn to build their own language before the silence breaks them. Hyunsu listened, utterly disarmed. He saw it then, not a business, but a legacy, a love letter to a kind of patience technology had rendered obsolete. He was so moved, so utterly caught in the vulnerability of her sharing, that his hand began to lift from his knee, an instinctive reach towards hers. And on his wrist, hidden under his sleeve, the Project Empath band lit up, a warm, persistent glow against his skin, a silent, biometric shout in the quiet dark. He saw her gaze flicker down, drawn by the faint light leaking from his cuff. The moment shattered. He yanked his hand back, cuff pulled down. It's just a fitness tracker, he stammered, the lie brittle and hollow. The open, vulnerable warmth on her face retreated, replaced by a polite, professional mask. The facilitator was back. Of course, she said, her voice smooth. She stood up, brushing non-existent lint from her trousers. We have the final trust exercises tomorrow. Big day. Right, big day, he said, standing as well, the cold air rushing into the space where the moment had been. She gave him a small, tight smile. Good night, Minjun. Good night, Suwon. He watched her walk away, the glow from his wrist a secret, accusing star in the night. He had come to know the secret of connection. He was leaving with a heart full of static, a legacy on his hard drive, and a band that only glowed for the one person he was destined to betray. The clock was ticking, and every beat felt like a lie.
Chapter 9. The Unmasking. The change was undeniable. Over the final days, Hyunsu observed the silent metrics of transformation. In the dining hall, couples leaned into conversation, their phones forgotten on the table, not as temptations, but as inert objects. Laughter replaced the tense, scrolling silence. A man who had once argued over a live stream now held his wife's hand under the table, his thumb tracing circles on her skin. The tools Suwon had given them, the mirroring, the eye contact, the forced collaboration, were no longer exercises. They had become language. Her teaching didn't go to waste, he thought.
a pang of something like pride mixed with profound theft twisting in his gut. He had the blueprint. The ACE was ready. He had everything he'd come for. On the last night, he was supposed to be packing up, getting ready to leave, but he stared into the empty room. The hollowness of his victory was absolute. The mission was accomplished. He should have felt elated, ready to return to Seoul a conquering hero. Instead, he felt like a ghost haunting his own life. The plan, the real plan that had taken root in the chaos of his feelings, was not about code. It was about her. He needed to see her again, outside these walls. He needed to understand the glitch in his system, the pull that defied all logic. A dinner, just to talk. He'd get her chocolate, she liked it. He'd ask about her, not as data, but as her story. It was a feeble, human algorithm, and he clung to it. He found her on their bench, the usual spot beneath the pine. She held 2 steaming mugs. She smiled, holding one out to him. "Welcome. I'm not stealing your spot, am I?" "You've upgraded it," he said, taking the mug, their fingers brushing. No spark this time, just a warm, steady current. "You brought coffee." They sat, the silence comfortable, filled with the scent of roasted beans and impending goodbye. "You never told me about your siblings or parents." "They got divorced 15 years ago, and I'm the only child," he answered calmly. "Oh, my. I didn't know," Suan turning to him. "It's all right," he said. "I don't really like talking about it. Long story," he said, looking at her. "Let's just forget about it." She nods, smiling. "So, it's finally coming to an end," she said, staring into her cup. "Yeah," I replied. "Tomorrow." "So," she began, her tone light but her eyes cautious. "What are your plans after this? A celebratory date with Suji or just some well-earned family time?" He shook his head, a sharp, reflexive motion. "No, me and Suji, we're nothing. She's a wonderful person, but I'm not attracted to her. I'm attracted to you. The data is irrefutable and terrifying." "Oh," she said, the syllables small. She took a sip, avoiding his eyes. Then his heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic analog drum. This was it, the vulnerable moment, the ask. "If I was," he started, his voice unsteady, the smooth UI of his persona fracturing. "If you had any plans, so after things settle, maybe Cha Hyun-soo." The voice, loud and familiar, cut through the night like a cleaver. Hyun-soo froze, every muscle locked. He turned slowly, his blood turning to ice. It was Lee Jung-ho, a brilliant back-end engineer who'd left Synapse a year ago when his wife had their first child. A good man, the worst possible person. "Oh my God, it really is you," Jung-ho boomed, striding over, hand extended. "What in the world are you doing here? Slumming it in the analog world?" Hyun-soo shook his hand automatically, his mind a screaming void. "Jung-ho, I should ask you the same." Suan had stood up, her expression one of polite confusion. "Cha Hyun-soo, you two know each other, Mr. Lee?" Jung-ho laughed, clapping Hyun-soo on the shoulder. "Know him, of course we do. This is the Cha Hyun-soo, one of the top software developers in the country. He developed the back end for, 3 of the biggest apps last year?" He turned to Hyun-soo, grinning. "You were deep in some new project when I left, right? A dating thing?" Hyun-soo's mouth was dry. He gave a minute, desperate shake of his head. But Jung-ho, blissfully unaware, barreled on. "Yeah, Elysian Match, that's the one. Genius stuff. I guess you're here doing some hands-on user research for the next update, huh? Always working." He chuckled, a sound that felt like nails on the chalkboard of Hyun-soo's soul. The world had narrowed to Suan's face. He watched the polite confusion solidify, then slowly, horribly begin to crack. The pieces were aligning in her mind. His analytical distance, his questions.
Suan's POV. The walk back to her quarters was a blur of stinging cold and searing heat. The mugs, their mugs, felt like anchors of shame in her hands. She shoved them into a sink, the clatter too loud in the silent room.
She turned to her room, breath coming in short, ragged gasps. Cha Hyun-soo. The name echoed, attaching itself to every memory, corrupting them all. The intense, observant man who walked in alone. The spark in the hallway, had he measured that? Their struggle in the snow, his grudging respect, his surprising laugh, the way he'd helped her, the deep, disarming quiet of the eye contact exercise, where for 30 seconds the whole world had narrowed to the storm in his blue eyes. Their moonlit moment, his awkward, tech-flavored honesty that she'd found so endearing. She'd thought she was seeing layers, a guarded man slowly opening up. She had been seeing a performance, a supremely talented actor playing the perfect subject to gain her trust, her methods, her secrets. The worst part, the part that made her stomach clench with nausea, was her own foolishness. She, the expert in human connection, the one who could spot a fabricated story or a hidden agenda in a couple's dynamic from across the room, had been completely, utterly fooled. And she had liked him, more than liked. Tonight, on that bench, holding the coffee she'd brought for them, she'd been gathering her courage. She was going to ask him to dinner, after the retreat, in the real world. She had been ready to cross the professional line she'd so carefully drawn for years, because something about Minjun had felt different, real. It was all a lie, a user experience designed by a master. She'd take off her coat, her thoughts were wild. She grieved for Minjun, the man who never was. She grieved for her own judgment. She grieved for the fragile, hopeful thing she'd stupidly let begin to grow in her own carefully protected heart. She had built the analog heart as a sanctuary from the curated, dishonest world of digital personas, and the most convincing fake of all had walked right through her door, and she had welcomed him in. Wiping her face with a determined ferocity, she walked to her schedule for the final morning. She would host the closing circle. She would say goodbye to the guests whose transformations were real. She would be the composed, professional Kim Soo-on. And Cha Hyun-soo would be gone, erased like a bad file, a glitch in her system, a brutal lesson learned. No code could ever be trusted, especially the one written in a handsome liar's eyes.
Chapter 11. The Hollow Victory. Hyun-soo lay in the dark, his mind replaying the crash on a loop. Her face, the fury, the shattered trust, the single devastating tear. He had caused that. The memory of her laugh, bright and surprised in the snow, now felt like a taunt, a sound he'd drawn out under false pretenses. His plan, his fragile human plan to ask her for dinner, to see her in the world beyond these walls, was ashes. Everything was ruined. And the bitter irony choked him. He'd lied about his identity to get the data to fix his app. Now, the data was his, and the lie had destroyed the only thing that had ever made the data, or his work, feel meaningful. Why did I do this? He raked his hands through his hair, the question a merciless recursion. It was a mission, a cold, logical extraction. But somewhere between the first brush of hands and the last shared coffee, the mission parameters had been overwritten by something with no name in his code, something that made the thought of her hating him feel like a system-wide failure. A soft knock came at dawn. A staff member's polite voice reminded him of the farewell gathering at 9 a.m. The real world was reclaiming him, on schedule. He packed with robotic efficiency, the room reverting to the sterile shell he'd first scanned. Before leaving, he walked one last time to the narrow corridor where he'd first bumped into her. He half hoped, half dreaded a repetition, a chance collision, a moment to what? There was no algorithm for this apology. The hallway was empty. The Great Hall was a symphony of genuine connection, the final proof of Suan's success. Couples held hands, their body language soft and open. The once bickering influencer pair stood close, speaking quietly, earnestly. Some singles had paired off, exchanging numbers written on the back of retreat pamphlets, an analog gesture that felt profound. And there she was, at the center of it all, Kim Suan. She was smiling, accepting thanks, hugging guests, but I saw it instantly, even from across the room. Her smile was different. It was a facilitator's smile, polished, warm, and utterly hollow. It didn't reach her eyes, which scanned the room with a careful, professional distance. She never once looked in his direction. He was a ghost here now. He thought about forcing his way through the crowd, trying to speak, but the setting was all wrong. This was her victory stage, and he was the saboteur waiting in the wings. To approach would be another violation. The car ride back to Seoul was a sensory deprivation chamber. The city skyline, once a testament to his ambition, now looked like a circuit board of empty connections. He went straight to the office, a masochistic impulse. The buzz was palpable. The ACE framework was on every screen. His team cheered his return, slapping his back. "You did it, Hyun-soo. This is genius. We're calling it the Human Element Patch." He stared at the sleek graphics visualizing the mirroring protocol and the oxytocin feedback loop. His stomach turned. He named the features with clinical precision, but they were stolen rituals. He had commodified her parents' love story, her hard-won wisdom, the sacred space of her bench. He mumbled something and fled to his apartment. The silence there was worse. He slammed into his ergonomic desk, the perfection of it suddenly ludicrous. Frantically, he opened his laptop. He searched for the analog heart. The website was beautiful, serene. Testimonials from happy couples. No personal information. He searched for Kim Soo-an. Nothing. A ghost in the real world, just as she had become to him. He realized with a jolt, he didn't have her number. He had no way to reach her. Min Jun never needed it. Cha Hyun-soo had no right to ask. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. What was she doing right now? Was she still in that hall, cleaning up the remnants of the happiness he observed but couldn't feel? Or had she already deleted him, a corrupted file in the system of her retreat? He had everything he had wanted, and he never felt more empty.
Suin's POV. It was over. The final guest had driven away. The last thank you had been uttered. The compound was quiet, echoing with the ghost of laughter and whispered breakthroughs. Her staff buzzed around, cleaning, their chatter bright with post-retreat relief. "Great session, Suin," one said, grabbing her bag. "I'm off for the weekend. Happy almost Valentine's Day." Suin summoned the facilitator's smile. "You too. Enjoy it." The words tasted like dust. Alone, the silence amplified the hollow ache in her chest. The retreat was a success. She had done her job. Couples were healed, singles were hopeful. It was everything she'd worked for. And she felt utterly, completely empty. She walked towards her own quarters, but her feet changed course, carrying her down the familiar path to the guest cabins, to his cabin. She told herself it was a final check, a facilitator's duty. Her key turned in the lock. The room was spotless, impersonal, as if no one had ever stayed there. The scent of pine cleaner had erased any trace of him. It was a clean slate. It should have felt satisfying. Then she saw it. A single, crisp sheet of paper left centered on the small dresser. Not a notepad sheet, but good quality paper. His handwriting was on it. Not the rushed scrawl of his observation notes, but clean, deliberate, almost delicate strokes. Just 4 words. Happy Valentine's Day. No name, no signature, no plea for forgiveness, just the simple, devastating phrase hanging in the empty room. It wasn't a gift,
It was a ghost, a whisper of the maybe that had died last night on the bench. It acknowledged the holiday she'd just spoken about, the one he'd listened to her redefine. It was at once an apology and a reminder of the connection that wasn't allowed to exist. Her hand trembled as she picked it up. The hollow feeling inside didn't fill, it simply changed shape, becoming something more acute, more painful, a sharp longing for the lie that had felt more real than any truth she'd known in years. She carefully folded the paper and slipped it into her pocket, a piece of evidence, not of his deception, but of her own foolish, hopeful heart. Then she left the room, locking the door on the empty space and the two words that echoed within it, far louder than any silence.
Chapter 12. System Override. The sound of the elevator was a shrill, analog assault shredding through the digital fog of Hyun-Soo's exhausted brain. He jerked awake, stiff from a night spent slumped in his couch. Sunlight glared through the blinds. It was late, past 10 a.m., the launch day for the app element patch. He'd missed his own alarm. He stumbled to the elevator and pressed the button to accept. Second later, the elevator door opened. Min Sok stood there, beaming, holding a bottle of expensive-looking wine aloft like a trophy. "Congratulations," his friend announced, sweeping past him into the apartment. Hyun-Soo groaned. "What are you doing here?" Min Sok smiled. "Is that a question? My robot friend launches another world-changing app and I shouldn't be here? Buddy!" Min Sok's voice trailed off as his eyes swept the room again. They landed on the couch, then the luggage on the floor. "Don't tell me you slept there. You, Mr. Planned to the microsecond? And your luggage is there?" He turned, his expression shifting from celebration to concern. "Disorganized is not in your vocabulary. Did something happen?" He moved closer, peering at Hyun-Soo's face. "Are you okay?" Hyun-Soo collapsed onto the disheveled couch. "Yeah, why? Nothing, just tired." "Your brain doesn't just dysfunction because you're tired. That's a human excuse." "Wait," he trailed off. "Did you maybe meet someone there? Someone who messed with your wiring?" Hyun-Soo froze. His pulse, which had been a sluggish thud, spiked. The Project Empath band lit up, a soft, persistent glow in the morning light. He covered it with his hand. "It's nothing." Min Sok's eyes widened, then crinkled with delight. "You did! Oh my God, you did! And you didn't tell me? I'm hurt!" "No," Hyun-Soo stated, then stammered. "I mean, don't mind this thing. It's a prototype. It malfunctions. It's glitchy." "Really?" Min Sok leaned forward, a detective on the case. "It seems to be working just fine to me. What's her name? Maybe I should check your diary. I bet I'd find all sorts of interesting data." He made a playful grab toward Hyun-Soo's room. "No," Hyun-Soo said, standing up too quickly. "Fine, it's the host, Kim Soo-an." Min Sok's jaw dropped. He brought a hand to his mouth in mock, or perhaps real, shock. The retreat guru? The analog heart herself? Wow, the robot is in love. "No!" Hyun-Soo's denial was too loud, too sharp. He deflated. "I mean, I don't know, Min Sok. My systems report errors when I'm near her. My logic protocols fail. I experience unscheduled reboots. I feel weird." "Weird," Min Sok repeated, his grin softening into something more understanding. "That's called a heartbeat, you idiot. So why didn't you tell her? Or did you? You could have asked for my famously good advice, you know." Hyun-Soo slammed back into the chair, a wave of misery crashing over him. "This is your fault. You told me to go undercover. I used a fake identity, and she found out. She hates me." "Wow, how unclever of you. But I didn't tell you to use a fake identity. I said go do user research. I didn't say build a whole fake persona and break a beautiful woman's trust. That's on you, genius." The truth of it was a blunt force trauma. Hyun-Soo just stared at the glowing band in his hand, the biometric proof of his own catastrophic feelings. Min Sok sighed and sat beside him on the couch. "Okay, so you messed up, big time. You lied, you spied, you were a corporate secret agent in the Temple of Love. Not a great look." "Thanks." Hyun-soo muttered. But, Min-sok continued, his voice turning serious, the data from your little glow stick there suggests your feelings aren't fake, and from the way you're acting, a level of disorganization I didn't think you were capable of, I'd say they're pretty intense. So you have a choice, Cha Hyun-soo. You can sit here in your messed up apartment on your launch day, patching an app with stolen code, feeling guilty forever, or you can try to fix the one thing that actually matters. Fix it? How? She told me to leave. She looked at me like I was malware. Of course she did. You were malware. But you're not just a virus. You're also the guy who likes her. Min-sok had clearly been snooping. You have to fight for it. Not with tech, not with data, with the truth. The whole, ugly, embarrassing truth. You go to her, you lay it all out. Your stupid mission, your guilt, your messed up, glitchy feelings. You apologize without any expectation. You show her the human behind the code, not the coder behind the human disguise. Hyun-soo looked at his friend, the chaos of his apartment, the glowing band. The ACE launch was in a few hours, a hollow victory built on a lie. Suwon was out there, thinking he was a monster. What if she slams the door in my face? Hyun-soo asked, his voice small. Min-sok shrugged. Then at least you tried. At least you were honest. Then you can come back here, drink that terrible wine with me, and be miserable honestly. But what if she doesn't? The question hung in the air, more terrifying and more hopeful than any algorithm Hyun-soo had ever written. It was a variable with an unknown outcome, a leap into pure, uncoded uncertainty. He looked at the suitcase by the door. He hadn't fully unpacked. A part of him had never really come back. Slowly, he looked down at the band, the persistent light, a signal he'd tried to ignore, to debug, to dismiss as noise. It wasn't noise, it was the most important data he'd ever received. Hyun-soo took a deep, shaky breath, his system committing to a course of action with no predefined success parameters. He was about to run the most vulnerable, illogical, and essential protocol of his life. I need to go back.
Chapter 13. The Only Algorithm. February 13th, 2025. The Elysian Match headquarters was a temple of pressurized excitement. Screens glowed with the sleek, serene interface of the ACE launch presentation. The Human Element Patch. The name tasted like ash in Hyun-soo's mouth. In 2 hours, he would stand before investors and the tech press and sell them a beautifully packaged lie. He stood in his glass-walled office, looking down on the city he was meant to conquer. The snow that had begun as flurries was now a determined squall, painting the world in the same blinding white that had once covered a mountain trail. He couldn't do it. The code was perfect. The business logic was flawless. It was also a monument to his own cowardice, built on what he had with her. It would mean everything they had was a lie. Doing this means he really went there for a mission, research, and she meant nothing to him. Soo-on's life, her parents' love story, her hard-won rituals, the sacred space of her bench as his own innovative patch would be the final, unforgivable lie. He opened his phone, pulled up the company-wide feed, and began to type a live update, his fingers steady for the first time in days. To the Elysian Match team and our investors, today's launch of the ACE is canceled indefinitely. The feature contains ethical imperfections in its core data that cannot be reconciled. I take full responsibility. Effective immediately, I am stepping down. Cha Hyun-soo. He sent it. The silence in his office was immediately shattered by the buzz of his phone, leaping like a live wire on his desk. He didn't look at it. He grabbed his keys and drove out. The snowstorm was a living thing, a roaring white wall that swallowed the highway. The car's GPS was not working. The digital map was useless here, a fantasy of clear paths. He had only one map now, the memory of a moss-covered tree, a woman's calm voice saying, "It grows thicker on the north side." He drove by instinct and recollection, by the analog data she had taught him to read. 5 miles from the retreat, the car groaned, slid, and sunk into a deep drift. He was stuck. He didn't curse. He simply got out, pulled his suit tight, and began to walk into the howling white, the drive a small, heavy weight in his pocket. End. He arrived at the analog heart on foot, a phantom emerging from the blizzard. The lodge was dark, a single warm light glowing from the main hall window. She was there, alone, wrapping furniture in dust sheets, winterizing her dream. He knocked on the glass door. She looked up, and through the frost-etched pane, he saw her face shift from neutral to surprise. She walked over and opened the door, wrapping a blanket around him. "What is wrong with you? Are you okay? Do you want to get yourself killed?" Her voice shaking. He touched her arm. "Soo-an, I need to talk to you." She stiffened, her expression changing, realization dawning on her. "The retreat is closed, Mr. Cha. Please." Something in his voice, the raw exhaustion, the snow melting in his hair, made her step back silently, allowing him in. He stood dripping on the hardwood, the cozy hall feeling like a courtroom. "What about your app launch?" she said, not looking at him. "I can't. I cancel it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small black drive. "This contains every file, every photo from here, every note I took about the mirroring protocol, the oxytocin loop, the phone stack, every diagram of the ACE. It's all there, the theft in its entirety." She stared at the drive as if it were a scorpion.
"I'm not here to justify my action," he continued, his voice slow and rushing like the storm outside. "But I'm so sorry. Everything we had was not a lie. The me that you saw, that spent time with you talking about everything and nothing, was the real me. The I have never shown anyone in years. You know, I thought love was a solvable equation. I thought connection was a line of code. My parents were missing that instruction and code they wouldn't reach. But during my time here, I learned love is not all about feeling. It's about listening to the other person, telling them you're here for them, not just apologizing because you're trying to get them out of your space or close up the argument. It's about change, realizing you're wrong and never do anything to hurt them again, because you care about them and because you want this to work." Soo-an stares at him, shock all over her face. He took a shuddering breath. "I built the most elegant cage for loneliness and called it a solution. And then I met you. I didn't come to steal your secrets, Soo-an. I came to steal your magic. But you can't steal magic. You can only witness it. You can only feel it. And I felt it. With you, in the hallway, on the mountain, on that bench. That wasn't data. That was a system override. You crashed every protocol I had." He finally met her eyes. "I admire you. Not just your work, your patience, your conviction, the way you see people, really see them. Yes, I lied about my name, my job, my past, and I'm so sorry I introduced him to you with a lie." Soo-an's rigid posture had slowly dissolved as he spoke. The facilitator's mask was gone, leaving a woman who looked wounded, exhausted, and deeply moved. A tear traced the same path it had the night he was unmasked. "I don't care about the app," she whispered, her voice thick. "I don't care if you learned from the retreat. That's what it's for." She wrapped her arms around herself. "The identity, that's what broke it. Min Jun felt special, and knowing he was a fiction made me feel like the biggest fool alive. But the worst part," she let out a watery, broken laugh, "I couldn't stop thinking about you, the real you. I missed you." The admission hung between them, fragile and breathtaking. He took a step closer, his hands empty, offering nothing but the awful, vulnerable truth. I missed you so much too, and I know I don't have a right to ask for anything, but if you'll let me, I'd like to know you more, be with you, and I'd like you to know the real me, the one who's terrible at analog navigation, but is willing to learn, the one who's done with building cages. Her expression softened. I'm willing to learn, he said. Again, the words utterly insufficient, yet all he had. I know, she said, and then softer, I believe you. She walked towards him and wrapped her arms around him. Thank you, he murmured continuously. Thank you. She peered up at him. It's all right. And for the first time in his life, Cha Hyun-soo wasn't trying to solve it. He was just profoundly, gratefully present for it. So, she said, a ghost of her real smile touching her lips, Cha Hyun-soo, what does a disgraced tech genius do on Valentine's Day Eve? A wave of relief so potent it felt like warmth washed over him. He dared to smile back. Well, the data is inconclusive, but I hear there's a decent fire pit, and I make a surprisingly adequate cup of hot chocolate, if the host approves. She laughed then, the sound finally reaching her eyes, melting the last of the winter inside them. The host has very high standards for hot chocolate. I'm a quick study. They stood there, smiling like fools in the half-packed hall, the blizzard whiting out the world beyond the windows. The past was a stolen drive on a dusty table. The future was an unwritten analog equation.
Chapter 14. The Introduction. 6 months later. The gallery space was nothing like the glass and steel temples Hyun-soo used to command. Sunlight poured through tall windows onto warm wooden floors. There were no massive screens, no pulsing metrics, no champagne towers. Just soft music, clusters of thoughtful conversation, and at the center of it all, a simple logo on an easel, 2 brushstrokes meeting in the middle, forming a heart. The Analog Heart Introduction Service. Cha Hyun-soo stood near the back, watching the crowd. His hands were in his pockets, his posture relaxed in a way that would have been unrecognizable a year ago. He wore a soft gray sweater instead of a tailored blazer. Min-sok appeared beside him, nudging him. Nervous? Surprisingly, no, Hyun-soo said. I've already done the hard part. You mean quitting on live broadcast to go meet your girl? Yeah, that was pretty hardcore. Min-sok grinned. My mom still talks about it. She cried, says you have real emotional growth. Hyun-soo snorted softly. Tell her I said thank you. Across the room, Soo-won was speaking with an older couple, her hands gesturing gently as she explained the new facilitator certification program. She wore a simple navy dress, her hair loose around her shoulders. She caught his gaze from across the room and smiled. Not the polished facilitator smile, but the real one, the one he'd learned to recognize and crave. Min-sok followed his gaze. Still can't believe you pulled it off, you robot. The retreat guru and the corporate spy, very enemies to lovers. We're not, Hyun-soo started. Stop with your fantasy. This is because you spend more time reading novels than history. Yeah, Min-sok said firmly. You're a thing. A very cute, annoyingly functional thing. Now go up there. It's your turn to talk. Hyun-soo stood at the simple podium, the logo behind him. The room settled. He took a breath. Hello, everyone. Welcome to opening of the Analog Heart Retreat, he began. Months ago, I developed a different product. I called it the Analog Compatibility Engine. It was going to revolutionize dating. It was going to quantify the spark, automate vulnerability, and turn eye contact into a biometric score. His voice was steady without self-flagellation. You know, I was very good at my job, and I was very wrong about everything that mattered. He looked at Soo-won standing at the edge of the crowd. Her eyes were bright, but she was smiling. Connection cannot be automated. It cannot be reduced to a match score or a synchronized heartbeat. It requires two people willing to commit. It requires patience. It requires two people looking at each other with nothing to hide behind. He paused. I learned this because she taught me, not through any exercise or protocol, through the simple, radical act of seeing me, the real me, and not looking away. The room was silent, listening. So this is not my product, it is not my vision. He gestured to the logo. The Analog Heart Introduction Service does one thing. It identifies individuals who are genuinely ready to do the vulnerable, analog work of real connection, and then it points them toward the people who can actually help them do it. Starting with Kim Soo-won's retreats and expanding to certified facilitators who practice the same principles. He stepped back from the podium. There is no algorithm here, no swipe, no match score, no gamified engagement, just a doorway. What happens on the other side will be life-changing for couples. He looked at Soo-won again. He nodded once. Thank you. The applause was warm, genuine. Hyun-soo stepped away from the podium, his heart steady. He didn't need metrics to know it had landed. Later, at the small reception, Mr. Park found him by the window. You caused a hell of a mess, Hyun-soo. His former CEO's tone was gruff, but his eyes were almost warm. The board wanted to sue you into the ground. Legal spent 3 months dissecting every line of your ACE framework. I know. I'm sorry, Hyun-soo said. Don't be. Because when you open-sourced the empath and hardware and donated the patents to that nonprofit, we made us look like we planned the whole ethical reckoning arc with the band. Our user retention is up 18%. The Presence Pledge feature you designed has a 72% opt-in rate. He paused. The board's official position now is that Elysian Match is the digital introduction layer, and your little project here is the premium experiential partner. We're calling it a synergistic ecosystem. Investors love ecosystems. Hyun-soo blinked. Are you not angry? I'm furious, Mr. Park said, but he was almost smiling. You're the most talented designer I have ever worked with, and you were right. The old model was killing us, and we didn't have the courage to admit it. You did it for us. He extended his hand. 2 days a week, that's all I'm asking. Consult on the authenticity metrics. Help us not screw up the goodwill you accidentally created. Hyun-soo looked at the offered hand. Then he shook it. 2 days a week. No equity, no patents, just advisory. Deal. Mr. Park nodded once and walked away, already pulling out his phone. Min-sok materialized beside him. Was that your boss giving you a blessing or a performance review? Both, Hyun-soo said. I think that went well. You just turned your corporate sabotage into a consulting gig. That's not went well, that's black magic. Min-sok shook his head. The robot learns negotiation. Across the room, Soo-won was finally free. Her conversation with the older couple concluded. She caught Hyun-soo's eye and tilted her head toward the side door. He excused himself from Min-sok's ongoing commentary and crossed the room. Ready to escape? She murmured. Always. They walked through the quiet streets of Seoul, the air crisp but not cruel. Their hands stayed interlaced. You were nervous up there, she said. I could tell. I was, he admitted. Public vulnerability isn't in my native language. You're getting fluent. She squeezed his hand. You were very good. Is that a compliment? It's an observation, she smiled. I liked it. They walked in comfortable silence for a block. Then he said, 2 days a week. That's what Mr. Park said. He turned to her fully. I need to stay connected to the industry or I'll lose relevance, but I need to stay connected to us. He gestured vaguely at her, at them. I need to stay with you, by your side. You know, spend my time on you, the retreat, building things that matter. You're with me. You can do what you love, and I'm doing what I love. You don't have to put things aside just because of you. I'm here, always. You're here with me. That's all that matters, if we stay committed. He smiled. I love you, Soo-won. She studied his face. Then she reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind his ear, a gesture so tender that it made his chest ache. It's more than enough, she said. It's everything, and I love you more.
February 13th, 2026.
The retreat was officially closed for the season. The guest cabins were empty, the main hall stripped of its cushions and blankets, everything cleaned and packed until spring. But the private quarters remained warm, and the small kitchen still held the essentials. Hyun-soo had planned this for weeks. He wasn't good at romantic gestures. His skills lay in systems, not surprises, but he had approached it like any other problem: research, preparation, execution. The research. Suwon mentioned once, months ago, that she missed her mother's jimdak. Not the fancy restaurant version, but the home-cooked one, slightly sweet, slightly spicy, with vegetables cut too thick and potatoes that were always a little undercooked. The preparation: 3 practice runs, 2 phone calls to Suwon's sister for technique, and 1 near disaster involving soy sauce and a smoke alarm. The execution: he was currently stirring a large pot, wearing her spare apron, floral, deeply embarrassing, and trying very hard not to burn it. Suwon walked in from her office, stopped in the doorway, and laughed. The sound was bright, genuine, utterly disarming. "What are you wearing?" "Protective equipment," he said stiffly. "The situation is under control." "You're wearing my mother's apron." "I'm honoring her legacy." He gestured at the pot with his spoon. "Also, this recipe is very aggressive about splattering." She walked over, still laughing, and peered into the pot. Her expression shifted from amusement to something softer, more vulnerable. "Is this jimdak, your mother's version, or an approximation thereof?" He turned the heat down. "I called your sister. She was very helpful. She also asked if I was the tech guy and told me you were a picky eater as a child." Suwon pressed her mouth to her hand. Her eyes were bright. "You called my sister?" "I wanted to get it right," he shrugged, trying to appear casual, but his ears were red. "You said you missed it, so?" She didn't say anything. She just stepped forward, wrapped her arms around him, and pressed her face into his shoulder. He stood very still, then slowly, carefully, set down the spoon and held her. "This is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for me," she whispered into him. "It's just dinner. I cook for you almost every day," he said, his voice rough. "It's not," she pulled back, her eyes wet but smiling. "It's you, learning my mother's recipe, wearing that ridiculous apron, standing in my kitchen on Valentine's Day, making a mess of my pots." She laughed, wiping her eyes. "It's you, Cha Hyun-soo, being exactly who you are." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, very quietly, wrapping his arm around her, "I will learn 1,000 recipes for you. You know, I think I finally understand what you meant about connection being a language you build together." "Yeah?" "Yeah." He touched her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. "I'm not fluent yet, but I'm learning." He met her lips then. It was not the careful, tentative kiss of their early reconciliation. It was not the relieved, grateful kiss. It was something else entirely, that tasted like years of solitude finally ending, like the impossible fact of being seen and chosen anyway, like the word home spoken in a language that had no translation. The spoon clattered into the pot. His hands found her waist, her back, the floral apron crushed between them, the jimdak forgotten entirely. When they finally broke apart, breathless and laughing, her forehead rested against his. Her eyes were bright, wet, full of everything he had never known to want. "The soup," she murmured. "Definitely burning now." She laughed again, and he kissed the sound of it, capturing it like the rarest data, storing it somewhere no algorithm could ever reach. After dinner, they moved to the cushioned bench by the fire pit, their bench, the one beneath the pine where everything had shattered and, slowly, been rebuilt. She brought blankets, he brought the remains of a bottle of wine. "I have something for you," he said, reaching into his pocket. "It's not the band." He handed her a small, simple box. She opened it carefully, reverently, and found a thin leather bracelet. On it was a single, tiny charm, 2 brushstrokes, meeting in the middle, cast in warm brass. "It's the logo," she said softly. "It's us," he corrected. "Separate strokes, different directions, but together something whole." He hesitated. "I don't know what we're building. I don't have a 5-year roadmap or a success metric. I just know that I want to keep building it with you, for as long as you'll let me." She fastened the bracelet around her waist, the brass catching the firelight. "Oh, I love it so much, but it's not yet Valentine." He checked his phone. "Is it now?" She smiled. "I guess you beat me to it. I have something for you. Wait here." He pulled her back to face him, teasing. "Well, that's not my gift to you. Let's do that later. Right now, I need you here." She held him. "Your wish is my command, my robot." "Thank you so much. And I don't need a roadmap either," she said. "I just need you here, with me. Messy pots, bad jokes, too much data analysis. All of it." She smiled. "You're my analog heart, Hyun-soo. That's not a product. That's just true." He smiled and held her tight, the fire crackling softly beside them. It was not a spark. It was not a glitch or an anomaly or an unsolvable equation. It was a choice, made and remade moment after moment, presence after presence. It was the only algorithm that had ever mattered. Cha Hyun-soo had spent his life chasing efficiency, optimization, perfect solutions. He had built empires of code and metrics, believing that connection was a problem to be solved. He had been so wrong for so long that the weight of it should have crushed him. Instead, it had led him here, to a quiet lodge in the winter dark, to a woman who had seen through every lie and stayed anyway. He closed his eyes, let his head rest against hers, and smiled. It was, by every metric that now mattered, a perfect Valentine's Day.
A Valentine's note to you. If this story has meant anything, if Cha Hyun-soo's journey from code to connection has stirred something in you, then perhaps there's a lesson here that extends beyond the pages. Connection was never meant to be a problem to solve. It was always meant to be a presence to share. Hyun-soo spent years building elegant cages for loneliness, believing that if he just collected enough data, he could manufacture the spark. He learned, the hard way, that the spark doesn't live in profiles or preferences or perfectly calibrated compatibility scores. It lives in the space between two people who have put down their troubles and chosen, however clumsily, to really look at each other. So this Valentine's Day, whether you're coupled or single, whether you're celebrating with a partner or mourning the one who got away, or simply surviving another February 14th in a world obsessed with romance, remember this. The goal was never to be perfectly matched. The goal was to be truly seen. If you have someone, put down your phone and trouble tonight. Really put it down. Do something for them, no matter how small it is. Make them something, even if it burns. Hold their hand, even if it's awkward. Look at them like you're still choosing them, because you are, and they need to know it. If you're alone tonight, like me, then be alone the way Soo-an was before Hyun-soo stumbled into her forest. Not lonely, but present. Make yourself something good. Watch something that makes you laugh. Call someone who knew you before you learned to perform yourself for strangers. You are not half of an equation waiting to be solved. You are a whole person worthy of your own presence. Happy Valentine's Day, guys. Love you all.